So today I'm going to be making a couple mirror frames, kind of like I did for the camper, but this is for my church, for some plain old mirrors we have in our bathroom. So I've got some basic select pine 1x4's here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Of my last 3 boards I had sitting there, only one of them was rather straight. I noticed there's some warping to both of the others. And when you're going to deal with warping, of course, try to cut that with your shorter length. So I used the straight one for this last longer piece. To have just a little extra, about an inch on either end of overlap off of the mirror. We want to come in on that mirror because they're older mirrors. They have some chipping around the edges and stuff, but we want some space, off of that mirror. So that's the plan. So here's my advice to you. If you're like me and you're a weekend warrior, because I definitely am a weekend warrior, I'm not a professional. Continue to grow. Continue to take that extra step. I mean, I've put an hour extra work into this. I've made a lot of pieces of furniture that, look like pieces of wood nailed or screwed together. They function, they do the job, you can tell what they're supposed to be, but you can still see that it's wood. It's not a finished product. And I mean, I understand you can tell when a piece of furniture is wood. That might not make sense, but by a simple hour's worth of routing the edges of this and then using that orbital sander and sanding them down, like, these to me feel more like a piece of furniture than a 1x4 from the lumber yard. They're transforming. So an hour's worth of work today for years of a more finished product. And for the professionals and for the very skilled workers, like, this is obvious. But for people like myself that are just continuing to grow, like, it's worth it. It makes a difference. So let's go ahead and get those stained. I wanted to go with something really dark. We have some black tones and white and black tones in the bathroom that these are going in. And so I'm just using what I have. I have some lighter ones, but I'm going with Kona. It's a really dark stain. So it is a stain and polyurethane, but let's go ahead and get a coat of stain on it. So unfortunately, I noticed right away that Kona wasn't taking to the wood. I think it's because it's older, so I couldn't use it. So I grabbed something else I had in the garage, and it happens to be a little bit lighter than what I wanted. But it's what I had to work with. This will get dry fairly soon. I would say one of the keys to staining is to just come back and step away and check and look over it and make sure you don't have any like standing blotched stain spots, because those will dry and really show up. But I feel like we got a decent look at the grain. But I think it looks good. I just had envisioned going darker than that. So we'll leave this and we'll just come back to it soon. In total, I ended up putting 3 different coats of polyurethane on this after the stain had set. Between each coat, I allowed about 12 to 16 hours time, and I did a light sand with a sanding block. In total, I got 1 coat of stain / polyurethane on this, 3 coats of polyurethane, 3 times of sanding with that sanding block, and tack cloth in between each of those. Alright guys, so now here we are at the church. Behind me you see this mirror that I was working on a new frame for the mirror to make it look a lot better. I mean, as you see, it's a plain and simple, just mirror, nothing to it. We have some chips and stuff around the edges. We gotta work around our pieces that bracket on it. So anyways, I couldn't really transport this in the car, or at least I didn't want to transport it in the car put together. I didn't want it coming apart. So we're gonna set it down here on the floor, and we're gonna go ahead and use these corner brackets. They're corner braces, and we're just gonna put this together and make it into a square. That's the first step. Let's get to it. Alright, so that was pretty straightforward. We got those pieces together. You know, be careful they didn't pull apart or anything as those screws were going in. So now we just kind of want to set it up here, make sure it's going to look good. And now we need to make room, like I said, with those mounting brackets. So I feel like I mention this all the time. I know there's other ways around of doing this stuff. You can use masking tape and, you know, or painter's tape or whatever. I kind of like the toothpaste method because it gets you right exactly where you want to be on your boards. But I mean, I enjoy either one of them. So I'm gonna put toothpaste on all of these. All right, so I got toothpaste on all of those. And now I'm just gonna hold it right up there. Of course, what you don't want to do is shift around like I just was. So now I'm getting, you know, not exactly an accurate mark. And also, to me, it's nice to know that, like, as long as I get this frame level, if it's a little bit higher on the mirror or a little bit lower, like, it really doesn't matter. I mean, you just want to cover all your edges. You would hate to have your mirror, like, sticking out one side or whatever. Okay, and I've got marks on all of it. On to the next step. All right, so we definitely made a mess. I tried to cut those out a little bit larger and wider than the pocket needs to be because you might as well have some room to play with. All right, let's see if this fits. There we go. Yeah, so those all fit on the top. So this left pocket, I actually do need to, or this far right side, I need to cut just a little bit more over. And it should fit in. Honestly, we are pretty much at the bottom of the mirror. So like I said, we're not actually centered on the mirror, but I mean, you guys can tell, and in reality it's the same, it's showing the same. You stand here and look at the mirror, this now becomes the new center. Like, you can't tell that it's not exactly centered. So you can recover from the small details here. Anyways, I do need to cut this side just a little bit on this one, so let's do that. I didn't think it was bad before, but hopefully this should make it much better. Okay. You kind of feel your way on that and it actually fit pretty good. Cool. So we're good shape there. Now, I'm just going to take my sanding block. There was just a little bit of this that was from the sides where it sat. Then you can sand it off. I could have done that in my garage at home. I just didn't have the time. I'm going to go ahead and use my tack cloth because it's literally that. It's got some tackiness to it, which means that dust and stuff just kind of clings to it. It's got like wax on it. It's perfect for when you're going to be painting things to use after you've sanded and prepped your wood, because it'll remove all the particles. Sawtooth hangers are always pretty nice to use, pretty straightforward and simple. Alright, so now I've got two wall hangers on there. I've got it pocketed where it needs to be quite simply. I'm going to mark where those are at. One's right here, one's right here. And we're going to put some screws in with some drywall anchors. I had two issues to sort out here. One was that my frame was bowed out just a little bit on the lower right side. That ended up being because the wall anchors were in too tight. And the other was that the wall anchors needed to be moved over to the right because my frame wasn't centered over the mirror very well. Okay, so the fix was simpler than I thought. The fix to the problem was that it was bowed and this bottom was kind of twisting out and sticking out kind of like this. I was like, what's going on here? Actually, right now it's doing it. It's not sitting right. All I had to do, like, I just pulled the screws out farther, and it was just pulling in too tight at the top and twisting it. So now, I need to make sure I'm over the top here. I ate my own words. You know, I kept saying, oh, it doesn't really matter. And I was off here because I didn't pay close attention to it originally, so I had to redo that, put new screw hole mounts in. But, and as you see it actually is a little loose, but it should be fine. So there we go. We're going to stick just a little touch of wood glue in there and those seams just to help keep these pieces together a little better. And we're going to hang it. We're going to clean everything up. Call it a day. Okay, and that's going to do it for today, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time.